Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. We have a quick fire HBAR Hedera video for you guys today. It's been a busy week for me, lots of AMAs with Paris Blockchain Week, even including actually the likes of Swelled Labs, or part of the Hedera group, and a few others with Algorand, and a few more that will come out next week. Very interesting. I'm actually going to try and get those AMAs put into an audio scenario for adding them to this channel. But one thing that came out in the last sort of 24-48 hours is the announcement from Hedera, who are now part of the Cryptoasset Business Council in the UK. So these UK CBDC are written down somewhere. We'll go into a bit more detail about that in a second. We'll talk about the chart quickly as well, because Hedera, or the HBAR token, did drop down quite nicely over the last couple of days, twice into the 10-cent region, and even underneath that marker as well. And we'll see where maybe some interesting positions might be for maybe coming down a bit further, or maybe stabilizing and pushing up again. We'll see. Let's look into that a bit more detail. But first, let's talk quickly about this update of news. So this is what it's relating to. We've got here basically the Cryptoasset Business Council champions the UK's crypto ecosystem to support users, investors, and businesses, fostering innovation, consumer protection, and growth through effective policy. Now, the likes of Ripple are indeed involved with such a project or initiative. I know Uniswap are part of this as well, Coinbase. I mean, the list is massive. Why Hedera has taken so long, or the other way around, why has it taken so long for them to add Hedera, remains a good question, of course. But the key of this principle is that it has happened now. And here in the UK, where we covered so many times in the past on this channel about the innovation or business innovation hub, it was created a few years ago by Sunak when he was the Chancellor. And it was actually, ironically, a time when I said, I bet he'll be the next Prime Minister of the UK. I have to dig that video out. It's historic now, right? It's a documentary, if you want to call it that. But yes, of course, the development of Sunak then becoming Prime Minister, and then, of course, we're on the verge of things like CBDC, stablecoin implementation, all these things going on with crypto regulation right now. So what's really important right at this moment in time is, as more users coming into the space, the more requirement there is for regulatory framework to be not necessarily fully signed off, because there's going to be a stepping stone approach to this over the years to come. But it will begin and it will start, like we've seen here in the UK particularly, trying to lead the way across the globe of this area of expertise. But in my opinion, and I've said this with an IOTA video previously, one of my other favourite projects, it needs these kind of companies like Hedera, Algorand, Stellar, Ripple, all of these expert companies with extraordinary talent and knowledge and expertise within each of those individual names that I just mentioned, to help with this policy creation. It's the only way it can work, because otherwise all you're going to do is have a complete swing in, not necessarily government favour, but a very biased reasoning as to what crypto assets, or assets in general in a digital format, should and shouldn't be used, how they should be used or not used, what applications can be provided. I think when you've got companies like Hedera that have things like the DAG protocol, direct cyclic graph, which I'll leave a video to at the end of this one if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's absolutely phenomenal. I always called it the evolution of blockchain, but of course it's its own kind of separate thing. But you need that kind of experience and expertise to formulate plans to say, well, actually, this, and this is possible with blockchain, and especially with these kind of protocols, these kind of platforms that we've built, and this is how we think policies should be perceived or created or built, not just with what you think, but also what we think as industry experts. Because now the government and the existing financial banking systems, they really need to drill down further into cryptography, into blockchain utilization, with the aspects of merging technologies like 4G and 5G or 6G, the aspirations of IoT, cloud, artificial intelligence, of course, is a huge one. So I think this is really big step for Hedera to jump into as a member of the UK Cryptoasset Business Council, UK CBDC. There is the abbreviation. That's what I was trying to say earlier. But yes, as I said, conclusively, there's so many amazing companies that you will be very familiar with through your journey of cryptocurrencies, whether that's buying or selling, or through the companies themselves or platforms that you use. This is a growing list, and there's some critical members here for sure around this space. So I'm sure this will build. Similarly to like Digital Pound Foundation and things like this, they're all going to work together, really closely to bring this part here balanced. Exactly my point. Balanced regulatory framework. So that's a bit of a wrap up there, guys, of some important updates from Hedera. Before we go into the chart, just a reminder to not forget to check out the other videos on the channel. Of course, loads of different topics, discussions. As I said, I will upload the amazing AMAs I've done in the last few weeks with Paris Blockchain Week and the likes of Solana, Algorand. I've got so many cool ones coming up next week. Do keep an eye out for those coming into fruition. Some amazing topics, amazing discussions with some really top tier people in those companies as well. And of course, don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And welcome to the channel if you are new. So we can see here that the price point has matched itself down towards that 11 cent or so mark. What's really interesting is I've just drawn this particular fib level and we've just taken one of the most recent low points and the recent high points. And you can see that albeit that right now as recording, we're not currently hitting exact lines here, but we are playing around with the areas in between. And in significance of this particular price point, we're looking at prices, of course, that we've seen back here in the 15th or 16th of February this year. But the last time we saw those prices was way back here in May 2022. So there's a lot, in my opinion, of retesting to do of these lower regions. I'm particularly interested in DCAing right now as we see some stability. I'd like to see maybe 1 or 2 more days around this kind of area, roughly of between 11 and 10. Hopefully, maybe even sub that. But I will have some buy positions at some particular areas. For example, back down here at 9.7, and I'm quite interested in the 8.7. I'm not just randomly picking these. These are, of course, based on fib levels in particular, but also these retest markers. So if we plow ourselves across here, you can see, as I rightly said just a minute ago, last time, June 2022, February 2022, and more recently back here, and a slight correction twice or 3 times to try and signify this area again. I don't think this is enough for us to create a foundation for us to really push high. That remains to be seen. We could see some sideways traction and then another push up to retest these areas around 12 to 13 cents. But it's one of those things at the moment. The RSIs are looking quite healthy on the 14 and the 28 here on the bottom left, which kind of goes back to my point that I'd like to see 2 or 3 days of stability at these prices. Let's see the kind of volume intake and the confidence that we have in the market still. But we are approaching some interesting dates, of course. The halving event of Bitcoin. We've got the tax end of year here in the UK in particular, and loads of other things going on around the world as well. So for me, they're the areas of interest on the way down. But as I said, I'm happy to DCA at this particular area just in case we take an upward trend, because in my opinion, anything under 20 cents for Hedera is an absolute steal. Previous all-time high, of course, we've covered in so many videos, but up here at 58/60 cents, I anticipate us to smash through that, and we could take ourselves well up to the dollar, maybe even to the $2 or $3 mark in 2025, in my opinion. I'd like to know your thoughts on that, of course. Please do leave those in the comments below. But to reiterate my point about stability right now, we're seeing a decline on that weekly and monthly, but there's some really good positive green still. Really clinging on to that 3-month one. The 6-month one is the most interesting part because we may stabilize ourselves a bit downwards on that, and then we might have another push up. But in the grand scheme of things, guys, it's looking really healthy, and we're now playing with an area that was a bit similar back here to January 2023, where it just couldn't stabilize or push through, and then it came back down, obviously. But in this instance, we've had 2 of those moves now. Will we stabilize like we did back here? And in that instance, if I just pull in the price range chart, taking that top point from there to down here, that's about 32% move reduction. Around about 40% is quite normal. So if we use that principle for these points up here down to where we are yesterday, That was about 30 to 32% reduction as well. Arguably, we could see a couple more days of that traction down towards that 9.5 or 9.7% fib level, and then we could take ourselves up. But you can start to see a really interesting pattern here now, guys, even on the upward side, to give you a bit more of an indication of how this might go. 115% there, for example, we had here to up here, around about 100 odd percent. Perhaps I just need to move that just slightly more in line. There we go, 103%. So, the argument here is if we followed a similar pattern, not exact, but a similar pattern from this current price point or there or thereabouts, we could argue that maybe in the next 100% jump does take us towards that 20 cent mark. We'll have to see. But it's quite plausible because in that short space of time since October, November last year, we have gone from that 4.7 mark all the way up to the 14, which is a really good return. So let's keep an eye on it, guys. Let us know in the comments below what you're thinking about Hedera. What have you been doing price-wise in the charts? We'll catch you in the next Hedera update video. Take care. Bye-bye.